and we can just talk and shit. Like, All right, hey y'all, we're back. Phil Rudd of Brunswickagnculture here with Natasha Crawford. Beer and the Garden.
Yep, the Beer and the Garden.
The Beer and the Garden. You can find her online at the Beer and the Garden. And we're here today talking local and highlighting some of the local things you might skip over or not know about. Because again, Brunswickagnculture, we're about the community sovereignty. So, Natasha, we just left from break and we're back here, and we were talking about your artistry of crafting a beer. And so walk us through what it is for you, through the selection of what hop, what yeast, and the finished product.
Sure.
And let us know how that works out.
So there's a lot of, different styles out there. So normally, I like to try new styles. If I've had a beer from another brewery, I like to, take that beer and try to, recreate it, not to the teeth, but, a part of brewing. There's tons of recipes out there for all the styles out there. So normally what I do is I'll look at a few recipes and just look at the combinations, and then normally I will decide based off of, what, the flavor profile, the aroma, what I want to express in that beer. So that I may change the hops in the recipe that I get. I may change the malt and use a different type of malt than what was in that recipe. I don't necessarily brew true to style all the time. But it kind of helps me because I am studying to be a certified Cicerone. So a part of that is
whoa, big words, big words. Let's slow down.
Okay, so
certified what now?
Cicerone.
Cicerone.
Yes. So I am a certified beer server through Cicerone. So I like to explain Cicerone in a way that a lot of people know the sommeliers for wine.
Okay.
So Cicerone is almost that equivalent certification program for
Cicerone
for beer.
Sommelier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you learn everything about beer. You learn taste, you learn flavor, you learn the styles. And there's 4 levels. There's certified beer server, which is level 1. There's certified Cicerone level 2. There's advanced Cicerone, and then the highest and the top one is like a master Cicerone.
Okay. So then you plan on expanding your business then?
Well, and just my knowledge base. I love talking about beer. I love, explaining, beer styles or something about beer to someone who, they just didn't have that knowledge or didn't know that beer was so intensive and there's so much education behind it.
Okay.
So I love to learn beer. If you look at my bookshelf, there's tons of book on beer and hops and yeast and, because all those things play a role.
All right. Yeah. Well, what did you pour during the break, and can you explain this to us? Because I saw the pride that you took in pouring this, and I see it over your face.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about craft beer is that, like, the end product, if it turns out the way you want it, and even in home brewing, even if it doesn't turn out the way you want it, you learn from it, and you continue to get better. But this is a blonde ale. So this is my latest brew. It's probably only been in the keg probably about 2 weeks now. And part of that, and what I was really proud about is that with certain styles, you want that beer to be clear, nice and clear, see-through. You hit the colors, spot on. But yeah, so this is a blonde ale with this recipe, and this actually is one that I brewed for homebrew competition.
Okay.
The Dominion Cup. It's one of the biggest probably homebrew competitions here in Virginia, but just on the southeast region, or just east region too.
Y'all know they have brewing competitions? Is it open to the public?
Yeah, homebrew clubs usually, so I am associated with the homebrew club. But yeah, if you want to brew beer, you can submit it. They usually do it once a year.
And all y'all going out and going to the store and not realizing the craftsmanship that you could have in a fine product like this.
Yeah, in your own home.
Yeah.
There's tons of home brewers out there. I mean, there's tons of competitions locally, regionally. There's even big national competitions in home brewing. And, some of these, some of the beers that win get brewed on large scales, they get, if you, like, we've done homebrew competitions with local breweries here in Richmond, and the person that won that brewery brewed their beer.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of it is just that recognition, because of course, with home brewers, we share a lot of our beer.
Right.
We want people to taste it. We want that feedback, and I especially do. I love that feedback because, that's how I can just continue to get better.
Okay. Now let me ask you this, okay? And forgive me for being so direct in asking this,
sure.
but you're beginning in this. We talked about the length of time you've been brewing, but you're just now getting to the point, I guess, where you're putting your product out, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
What is it that you feel will separate you and your product on a larger scale to compete with somebody, say, I don't know, just say Bud Light, like not in the aspect of they're a big company, but we're talking about and there's an aspect for you in the market and a quality product. Where does that growth come from, and how do you feel like a community could best support you in that?
Yeah, so I think that with my product and just my thinking and around beer and what I want to put out there and what I want people to enjoy, I think one of the things for me is I'm called the Beer in the Garden for a reason. I am working, and I have brewed some beers where I've included ingredients that I grow in my garden.
Oh, you're a farmer? Oh, you grow your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm growing hops right now. If you look back in the history books, beer, was brewed on farms.
Right.
And ultimately, I want to create beers centered around what I grow. And create flavors and beers that no one else is brewing.
Okay, so you're not like
anymore.
farm to fork, you like farm to cup.
Farm to cup, farm to glass,
Farm to glass, farm to stein, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even with us a lot, and really just kind of getting back to that, knowing your ingredients, knowing where those ingredients come from. I'm a big
proponent of the food
proponent
sovereignty,
of that, the
of
food
like,
sovereignty, yeah.
I can see it grow, I know where it grows. Yes.
Yeah. So ultimately, my biggest dream is to have a farm brewery.
Right.
Part of my brewing and why I grow is I like providing that for people. I love providing food for people, introducing people to new vegetables, new herbs, new this, new that they've maybe never had before.
Right.
And then part of that is giving them a beer that, they can have a discussion around. They can say, oh, I've never had a beer that tastes like this before. I've never had, a beer that, speaks to me and that I can kind of relate to.
Right.
You know what
this
I mean?
isn't
like,
the party and see how many you can drink beer. This is we're sitting as adults now in this different place. Our palate, our mindset has changed.
Right.
And we want to enjoy something of quality. Right? Not everybody is a wine drinker. I'm not. But a good beer.
You can still have that same experience with the craft beer that some people have with wine.
Right.
And yeah. There's just so much to talk about with that.
Okay, well we'll take a break real quick, Natasha. We're here with Natasha Crawford, Beer in the Garden. That's how you find her online at Beer in the Garden. All right, Natasha Crawford, and we are Brunswickagnculture. We're here on 105.3 The Choice, WQCN, and we're going to take a break real quick, and we'll be back.